Go deeper with Lobbing Scorchers. Scratch under the surface. Get down even dirtier than we already get. Become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comment section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to a victorious post-game live. The Seattle Sounders returned to MLS play last night against Austin FC, and they got a big dub, 2-0 at Lumen Field. We're going to be reacting to that, and I'm going to take some calls later on this post-game live. Hope everyone's enjoying their Sunday so far. What a stunning Seattle day we've got working today. I was just walking around Madison Valley, where I live, with my friend from out of town who crashed with me last night, and we were like, damn, what a day. What a day it is. Got some iced coffee, took in the weather. Hopefully all of you out there get a chance to do that as well. But now here, laying down this post-game live and looking forward to it. A good result, good performance for the Seattle Sounders. Much necessary 2-0 victory. I was talking it over with some folks in the press box before the game, but there was more riding on this game, I would say, than a typical June 28th home matchup versus Austin FC, just because Seattle lost their final two matches before the Club World Cup and then lost all three of their Club World Cup matches. So it was technically a 5-game losing streak, all comps, which, I take the Club World Cup aspect of that with a grain of salt because they were playing the best team in the world, one of the best teams in Spain, and the best team in South America. So that was a pretty difficult group that I don't really think of it as a 5-game losing streak in a way that you might normally think of that. But if they had lost this game last night, that would have been a 6 spot. That would have been 6 L's in a row. And that's just never the vibes you want, even if you can look at the Club World Cup aspect of it with a bit of a grain of salt. So it was important that they put in a good performance and got a win in this game, despite being very shorthanded in central defense, which we'll talk about in a bit. But a good, important performance and a good, important 3 points on multiple fronts. Jesus Ferreira with a goal and an assist. They're going to say it doesn't count. They're going to say that Austin FC is unworthy of goal contributions counted on the stat sheet. But they do count on the scoreboard and on the stat sheet. So great to see that. A really good Moose goal. I thought a good overall Moose performance in this game. Thought he looked back to the Moose of earlier this season when he was scoring goals for fun. It wasn't just his goal, which was fantastic. One of my favorite goals of the season so far. A 22 or 23 pass buildup on that Moose goal. Depending on what clip you look at. It's kind of hard to tell due to some Apple TV logistics. But at least I think a 22 pass buildup on that goal. And that is to me, that's a Seattle Sounders goal. When people ask, what is this team's identity? What do they do well? That is the Seattle Sounders identity. That when this team is playing at its best in the Brian Schmetzer era, that's the type of goal that they're able to score. And that was a quintessential example. Slicing and dicing, really crisp, one-touch passing, moving the ball around at a higher speed than the defense, and generating a quality breakaway opportunity, which I don't know about you guys, but as soon as Moose received that ball, there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to score that, even though he had Rothrock streaking on his left there. It seemed pretty clear he was intent on taking that, and he converts for a 2-0. So just again, a good, necessary win for Seattle as they look ahead to the stretch run of the season here. Had to have this one, and they got it. Who mentioned it in chat? Yes, PSG just curb stomped Miami too this morning. They did. And what's funny about that is I think there was this perception that like if any MLS club was going to be able to take down PSG in this context, it was Messi and the Barca boys. A lot of the talk going into that game, I feel like I don't know, maybe I was seeing stuff or not seeing stuff that other people were seeing, but I feel like people were not expecting it to be as one-sided as that. Seattle fared much better against PSG than Inter Miami did. I do think that I will acknowledge that 2-0 in that game was probably a little generous to Seattle. I said it at the time, and I still think that, to me, it looked like PSG had a gear when they were up 2-0 that they felt like they probably just didn't even need to tap into. I could be wrong about that. That's just the sense that I got. It felt like if they wanted to turn up more, they probably could have. But that should take nothing away from the fact that 2-0 versus this PSG team, which is the best team in the world, was a more than dignified result in performance. And Inter Miami, they were not even remotely close to the ballpark of pulling that off. Not even close. Which it doesn't necessarily surprise me. It's the best team in the world. But I mean, the whole reason that Inter Miami got the charity spot, I feel like, is because of the notion that something like that wouldn't happen. So Seattle can certainly look back on this Club World Cup. They did not make it out of the group like Inter Miami did, so you have to give Inter Miami credit for that. You do. But Seattle fared quite a bit better than PSG or than Inter Miami versus PSG. All right, I'm going to drop the call link in here in a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a couple more takes. Drop the call link in chat. If anyone wants to hop on and lay down some takes, feel free to tap in. That's the point of this show here today. But I'm going to lay down a couple more of my takes, drop the link in, and then play the Schmetz presser while we wait for people to hopefully tap in and get some takes from the fans on what we saw last night on this big win, basking in the glow of a 3-point result. Sounders actually went into that game with the game plan and played PSG so well, even with the coaching staff in Paris was complimenting the club. Miami is a joke. I mean, I haven't seen what the PSG players have said post-game about Inter Miami. I'm sure they'll be deferential. But I can tell you guys, I was in the mix zone for both of those games. And before the Seattle players came out, the Atletico Madrid and PSG players came out after both of those games. And I think I told you guys this, but Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid, it was like low-key disrespectful but respectful at the same time. He called them the other team, like as if he like didn't know. He either didn't know or couldn't remember what the Sounders were even called. But he said like fair play to the other team. Like they had us under it at times. They did not make it like an easy game. They made us sweat that out at points, and like we felt that on the field and with the atmosphere. He said all that, and like, you know, could that have been lip service? Yeah, but like I can usually get a pretty good gauge on if it's lip service or like a sincere comment. And he didn't seem like he was just saying it just to say it. And the PSG players had similar sentiments. So that's just from the opposing team. You know, that's not even me saying it. That's some ball knowers saying that. So yeah, that was a flop. That was a flop from Inter Miami. There's no question about it. Can't imagine Messi and the Barca boys are happy about that. But I don't know. Maybe that's just what happens when the entire core of your team is 43 years old and you're playing the best team in the world. And I mean, that Inter Miami team, it's like they are one of the best teams in MLS still when they have Messi and the Barca boys fit and healthy and playing against other MLS clubs or whatever the case may be. But you put them against the best team in the world, as we saw today. We saw what happened. So, yeah, you do. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. It's tough. It's tough. Why are we unable to spend money on players? Broke. Yeah, I don't know. Agenda Christian Roldan needs USMNT caps now. Yeah. You can't you can't tell me that he's not better than whoever else is in the mix right now. I don't know. I've kind of checked out of that team. I don't really care anymore. I don't know if they're still throwing. I think it's probably Tyler and Weston back there. Are they that much better than Christian Roldan? No. They're not. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I think he's just as good as any of the players in consideration for those spots. And I think he proved it in the Club World Cup. If anyone thinks that is like an outrageous take, go watch the tape. Go watch the tape of the Club World Cup. Every Lobbing Scorchers super chat goes to buying players. Exactly. All right. Okay. I had a couple things written down here. About this Austin game, and then I'll drop the link in. It looks like we got some good turnout on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you to everyone for tapping in. Also, please, if you have not yet peeped the Lobbing Scorchers hot sauce, it is out. It is available for purchase. LobbingScorchers.com/sauce or on the Hacks and Ferments website. One of our beloved sponsors, Hacks and Ferments. It's a great product. It tastes awesome. You can put it on all your food. LobbingScorchers.com/sauce. And if you use code LS, Noah's put it in the chat right here. If you use code LS, you get a free buy one, get one free deal. So you can't beat that. Please go check it out and throw some support to one of our sponsors that help make this show go. We love working with Hacks and Ferments, and making our own hot sauce was an unexpected event that occurred as a result of this show, but it's great. So please go check it out. Self-proclaimed best defensive mid of all time. Yeah, bet I am one of the best holding mids in the world. Tyler, I'm one of the best holding mids in the world. Adams. All right, we covered Inter Miami getting absolutely destroyed by PSG. That was one of the points I had written down. But from a Seattle perspective, regarding this game against Austin FC, Seattle went into this game with one center back. So this was not actually like a. It felt, I don't know. I felt dicey about that just because one way or the other, the reports were that Alex Roldan was training at CB with Cody Baker as like ostensibly the secondary option. And I trust Alex Roldan to hold his own for one game, but like it is a situation where you have a guy playing center back in an MLS match who has never done that before. That's always a risky proposition purely because of just inexperience at that role. And Stephen Fry was actually talking about this in the lead up to the game. And he was like, yeah, we have full confidence that Alex will be up for the job. But it's a different mentality, a different way you have to play the position when you're playing center back compared to wide back. And what Steph Fry was saying was like, if you get beat out wide, it's usually for a cross, and you're more likely also to have someone being able to maybe slide over and cover the space. It's a little less like high stakes in that way. It's still high stakes, but when you're playing center back and you're on an island and you get beat in behind or over the top and there's no line of defense back there, it's different stakes than if it happens when you're playing wide back. So that's something that someone who's never played the position before in an MLS game is going to have to adjust to and adapt to. And he was great. I thought, like, I think it's a good bit that every time they're in this situation where the entire depth chart is just utterly blown to pieces like that, or they have like someone gets sent off and he has to like go in goal or whatever. It's always a Roldan. It's always a Roldan who has to do it. They did it with Christian for years at right back. Right back Roldan, famously. This time, Alex Roldan famously played in goal against the San Jose Earthquakes. And this time, he ended up playing center back. And you could tell early in the game that, to the extent that Austin FC had a plan of attack offensively, part of it was, I'm pretty sure they were just saying, like, kick long balls at number 16 and make him deal with it. See if he can. Which is exactly what they should have been doing. They did do it a few times, and he was he was holding his own out there. I don't think he made any like glaring mistakes. The Alex Roldan goalkeeper game was FC. I think it was the Quakes. Look that up. I'm pretty sure it was in San Jose. I could be wrong. It might have been FC Dallas, but I'm pretty sure it was San Jose. But anyway, like, not to spoil it, but Lobbing Scorchers man of the match for me, easily Alex Roldan. I mean, I know Ferreira had a great game. I know Moose had a great goal in a good game. There's other ways you could go with it, but to get thrown into a position that he's never had to play before in an MLS match and to play like that was awesome. Kept the clean sheet. So big ups to Alex Roldan. Great. Both goals in this game, I thought, were really good. Great to see Ferreira get one. Second goal of the season. So Noah is actually on track to not get a tattoo. So I think that's good for him, unless he wants the tattoo. But in all seriousness, great to see Jesus Ferreira get on the stat sheet on both of these goals. Nice little finish on the first one. Great Paul Rothrock assist. Paul Rothrock, I thought, was another man of the match candidate. Thought this was a great Rothrock game. Again, just great work rate, great work pressing, great work defensively, and then he gets the dime on the Ferreira goal, which it seems like they have a nice little synergy developing. Rothrock and Ferreira specifically. He lays it in there on a platter. Great finish. Not like a world-class finish, but imagine the discourse if Ferreira had missed that. Okay, so we got to give him credit now. We got to give him credit for scoring that goal. And then his assist on the Moose goal after that 20-pass buildup was a great pass. So just a excellent performance from Jesus Ferreira in this game, integral to both goals, scoring the first one, assisting on the second one. So that was great. That's what we need to be seeing from Jesus Ferreira right now. And he came through in this game, in this scenario, when they needed to win. So let's give him his credit for that. And then again, I thought this was the best Moose has looked playing up top in a while. He had his little, I think, back injury a couple weeks ago and had not quite recaptured the Moose form of earlier this season when he scored 5 games in a row. We had yet to see that Moose resurface, and I thought it resurfaced in this game. I have no idea how that first chance that he had wasn't a goal. He whipped that on target from a really tight angle. and I think it deflected off the goalkeeper and off the post. Rebound goes right to the Austin FC defender, who it looked like shot on his own goal, and then that one also went off the post. So that was another really dangerous moment for Moose where he could have easily had a goal. He also had another decent little chance that was like just wide, but it was a good high percentage Moose look. And then he gets rewarded with a goal where it's I just love that goal because 22, 23 pass buildup, but then Moose just taking matters into his own hands. He was one-on-one with that CB, and it was over. Everyone in the stadium knew that Moose was finishing that, except for maybe Paul Rothrock, who was screaming for the ball. He was wide-ass open, but I don't mind Moose being a little selfish in that situation. That like you want your striker to have the confidence and wherewithal and the composure to be able to score that. So no, good all-around performance. Austin FC never got going offensively. I think maybe a little bit at the end. They had a couple of chances, so that was good. But we should acknowledge the RBW red card at the end. RBW unfortunately gets sent off in just like it was unfortunate because it just wasn't necessary. It seemed like one of those things that happened out of like fatigue and just like, if you're on a yellow card, especially at the end of the game when you're up 2-0, there's just no reason to make that challenge or put yourself in any sort of situation there, especially where they were at on the field. Like if it was like near midfield where that challenge occurred, if I'm not mistaken. So even if I can't remember exactly what happened. I think he lost possession and then like threw his kind of studs out at the guy. I thought it was a fair second yellow. No issues with that. No issues with the ref in general. Tim Ford, who is a fun little character in this game, nicknamed in the press box Built Ford Tough, as I was referring to him for most of the night, because not a big foul caller, Built Ford Tough, but he was pretty consistent. So I didn't have an issue with it. I thought it was fair that he sent RBW off at the end. I can't remember. Built Ford Tough had a very distinctive style about him. He's a center ref that I haven't seen all that much. Like it's usually the similar rotation of guys that I kind of know what to expect, but I hadn't seen a Tim Ford game in a while. So I thought he had a decent enough game, but all right. I am going to drop the link in chat if anyone wants to call in right now. It is right there for you. What I'm going to do, guys, is play the Schmetz presser. So if you tap in while the presser's going, I'm just going to let this presser play and then bring you on. I'm not like, if you're in the queue and the presser's still going, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going to let this presser play out, and hopefully the initial we'll get the initial wave of people tapping in, and then we can get going with these fan reactions. But let's hit the Schmetz presser. I actually haven't seen this yet, so it'll be my first time hearing what Schmetz has to say about this W.
Win, Brian. What you make of Alex's performance there as emergency center back?
It's fine. Good. I mean, no critical errors. Possession was good. That's what we put him in there for, because, I thought we would have more of the ball than Austin. So good. I think Jackson stepped up, to help him a little bit, because you play as an individual first, but then you play as pairs, and two center backs always have to play as a pair. So Jackson did a good job with leadership. So, on that note, it was good.
All right, we'll go to the second row, Jada, then Maz. Thank you. Congratulations to again, Brian. How did you feel that the team responded after, was this the kind of response that you would want after a Club World Cup performance?
Yeah, you could see bits and pieces of what transpired in the last 3 games tonight. I'll use the second goal as an example. We're pushed back a little bit and we have the ball, but they found the commitment, maybe the courage, might be too strong because I knew we like to play with the ball, to keep possession. We did that against PSG, against Atletico, against Botafogo. We were able to, be good in our possession. In the sequence, we're back here and Steph, and we play it wide, and we don't panic, and Alex, and we get out, and Kalani, and here, Jesus slips the ball into Moose, and he does the rest. But, from back to front, when you score goals like that, it just shows that the team is committed to play and play with good possession. So I was very, very pleased with that.
Moss.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about your transition game, but what did you like about that? You just told us about the particular sequence there, but it seemed like you had other opportunities in which your transition game was working. What was working with that?
I don't know, Moz. I mean, I might disagree with you there a little bit. I thought we could be a little bit more direct in the initial transition moment and then make it a decision, because we need runners ahead of the ball. Like when we played against Atletico, when you watch them, and we talked about that at halftime, Atletico, when they win the ball, it's not just one guy running forward or 2 guys running forward, it's 4 and 5, and they really transition. And I think we can do a better job there. And you don't have to pass the ball to any one of the guys that are running forward. You can still elect to slow it down or keep possession or just push the ball higher up the field. And so that's what I want for the club. I want them to actually go and sprint, because most goals nowadays in soccer come through transition. But I also want it to be a decision, if that makes sense.
We'll come back. Go ahead.
Hey, Brian, again, congratulations on the win. What does this clean sheet tell you about the team's defensive structure, despite having a, somewhat of a depleted back line there?
Well, we've always been a good defensive team because I demand, it's just part of, what I believe in, that every player on the field has to do their part defensively. And look, the defending that Danny Masowski or Jordan does up here is different than what Paul Rothrock or Ryan Kent or what, Alex and Kalani and Nuhu or the two. It's all different according to position, areas of the field, but they all have to defend. And that's been one of our calling cards. I was appreciative of some of the comments that, PSG were surprised a little bit that we were pressing high on goal kicks. Well, that's part of our DNA. I mean, that's one of the easiest moments to press. So I expect that. I expect a lot of it. And, that kind of sometimes helps you if you got some, changes in the back line.
Diego, español o inglés?
Español.
Okay, claro.
Gus,
Buena.
how are you?
Felicitaciones por el triunfo. Tengo una pregunta respecto al Mundial de Clubes. Si bien es cierto, el Sander no obtuvo ningún punto, desde mi punto de vista, su participación fue aceptable, considerando la jerarquía de los rivales que enfrentó. ¿Cree usted que con mejores refuerzos hubiera podido hacer más? Gracias.
Congratulations on the win. I have a question about the Club World Cup. The Sounders ended up not accumulating any points, but from a certain point of view, the performance can be considered acceptable, especially consider the hierarchy and the power of the opponents. Do you think that by getting some reinforcements to the roster, you could have gone, the Sounders could have done more?
Well, I would probably say that because of our injury situation, maybe we could have got more. I mean, obviously, if you look at the payroll of Paris, of Atletico and Botafogo, I mean, we could have spent 20, 30, 40 million and still not reach what they spend. So, I mean, for us, just having, Jordan injured and Yaimar and Kim Ki-hee and some other guys, I think we could have, been a little more competitive if some of those guys would have been available to play.
Bueno, en realidad que mismo con los jugadores que estaban lastimados, si lo estuvieran disponibles ya podríamos haber hecho más. Si ves la inversión en cuanto a los pagos para los jugadores de equipos como Botafogo, Atlético y PSG, mismo que si hiciéramos tremendas inversiones, no íbamos a llegar a los niveles de gastos que ellos hacen. Entonces, como jugadores como Yeimar o Kim, que no estaban disponibles, si estuvieran, podríamos competir más y obtener más.
Gracias. All right, George, I see you on Zoom. Thanks for waiting patiently. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question, please?
Hi, Brian. So you mentioned that you got something out of Atletico Madrid in terms of how they play. I was curious if you got any points from the way Botafogo and Paris played, and also how good it is to play on natural grass for MLS, and if you expect to be able to play on natural grass more often in the future.
Well, of course, but I'll answer the grass question first because, the stadium was built with the soccer people, and was it grass? Was it turf? I mean, look, we share the stadium with many different entities. That's all above my pay grade. Every player would tell you that, yes, of course, grass is a preferred surface, but our turf is very good. So when we laid the turf down and then, next year after the World Cup, the new turf goes down, new turf fields are good. So that's that part of it. What we learned from Paris, obviously we're not quite at that level though, was, they beat you with extended possession and counter pressing. And again, that's something that we like to do. We like to possess the ball in the opponent's half of the field because why? Because that actually makes it easier to counter press and regain the ball and suffocate opponents. And, our home record is very good this year. I think we've only lost one game this year. So at home, we want to do exactly that.
All right, see a few follow-ups on this side. Miles, we'll start with you, then go to Jeremiah.
Brian, just going back to that, you said you need the players to make the decision in that transition. What is that you want them to do more? Is it to pass, dribble, or just read how the game's going? Like Paul Rothrock seemed to attack that final third.
Look, the beauty of our sport is that, it's fluid. It can change in seconds, in minutes, in intervals, and, whatever. What we try and do as coaches is get the players to have good vision. Okay, that's number one, because you can't make a good decision unless you see the field, okay, the entire field. And then they have to play, and they're there. They're feeling the game. Like the transition moment in the first half, Masowski wins the ball. He wins the ball at midfield, drops it back. Albert plays Rothrock in, and it's a, moment where, Paul's got to make a decision. Is he going to wait? Is he going to hold the ball up? Is he going to bring it back? No, he goes to the end line, clips the ball back, and we score. Second goal, the ball comes to Jesus, and we've got a runner ahead of the ball, which is Masowski. And so the ball is played there, and that's a decision that Jesus makes. He could have played the ball out here to the left. I can't remember who's out here on the left, but he chose to make the ball down the middle. So it's good on him.
Talking a little bit more about the sequence that led into the first goal. Paul gets into it with Danny Pereira. There's a little fracas there, but I have to imagine that you really liked the way that he responded to that moment, where it was Paul. I mean, there was a drop. There's no foul. There's a drop ball. You guys get the ball back almost immediately, and then he sort of he makes that play.
Yeah. Look, there was another play, but like what Paul does well is some of the little things. There's a ball in the second half where the ball's played in behind and the ball's up in the air, and most players would have just ran straight and to the ball and try and get ahead of or stay ahead of his defender. But what Paul did is he slowed down, used his body, and then slowed the defender down, then accelerated again and made the play. And I think the guy got a yellow. And those are smart plays. So Paul's capable of that. Now, on the flip side, he's got to be careful because, sometimes when you're an agitator or aggressor, it can go against you. But tonight's game, he was good.
Also wanted to ask about Reed getting the 2 yellow cards there. I don't know. What did you say to him in the aftermath? And what would you?
I haven't spoken to him yet. I will. I mean, look, the first one, it's a handball because, it stops the play, a little soft there. But the second one, he doesn't need to dive in. I thought he might have learned from a game in Kansas City last year. He got a couple quick yellows. But look, he's still a young kid and, he's got some potential. But he's got to learn from those moments.
Good stuff from Schmetz. Following that, following that W over Austin FC. I thought the answer that stuck out to me most there was actually not related to the game. It was to the guy's question about if you guys had more roster reinforcements, would you think you could have competed more in the Club World Cup? Which I don't know if Schmetz has been directly asked that question yet, but I'm glad that guy asked that because that's been a hot topic of discourse among those of us who cover the team and the fan base as well. That has been a very hot topic of discourse. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Schmetz's answer was correct. He put it. He made the same point I think that we've been trying to make on this show, but in a little bit of a different way that I hadn't exactly framed it through yet. But I think what he said was like we could have spent $30 or $40 million on players before this tournament and bolstered our roster like that, and it would not be it, and it would be an absolute like drop in the bucket. I'm paraphrasing, but that wouldn't bring us anywhere close to the spending power of a club like Paris Saint-Germain. Exactly. Like, especially the idea that like one player would have moved the needle at all. I've always found that silly. Even if it's like even if it was like a super awesome number 9 or whatever you wanted them to do with the U22 spot, doesn't mean they shouldn't have done it if they thought they had the right guy scouted up to improve the team in the long term. But as for the idea of thinking about your roster construction in a way that you're going to sign one player to meaningfully move the needle in games against PSG and Atletico Madrid, I always thought that was a little silly. But what he said about the injury situation actually being the factor that could have maybe made a difference there, that is sort of also what I've been saying. It sucks that Jordan Morris, the timing of when he got injured meant that he couldn't really play in the Club World Cup. That's just unfortunate. It's bad luck. And they could have used a number 9 of Jordan Morris's caliber in these games, and maybe that does make a difference in the Botafogo game. But that is the correct answer. I'm sorry to say. And I think he put it in a better way, or framed it in a way that was more clear than I've been saying it. To that end, Botafogo spent like $25 million on player immediately before the Club World Cup and kept their star striker just to make it out of the group. Yeah, and then they lost to Palmeiras, you know? So, I mean, fair play for them spending that money, but it's and they had the Botafogo, even with when they got eliminated, they had a great showing at the Club World Cup. They freaking beat PSG. Okay. So that's one of the best wins in the history of their club. They lose to Palmeiras. But as for making like a real run, that 25 million didn't really help them, did it? They lost to a club that they play domestically despite those additions. So that's where like the integration aspect of it comes in that you have to take into account. Like it takes time for new players to like fit in and be able to actually make an impact. So, and it's also exactly, it's not even possible, but like even just the hypothetical notion of it, they could have spent $100 million and that's like 1/10 of what PSG has backing them. It's just not like a conversation, really. Like what reinforcements would have made a difference there. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills on this whole topic sometimes when we're talking about the difference between a club that has $1 billion in oil money and another club that plays in a salary cap league. Like when you take all that stuff into account, again, I think I was saying that I originally gave Seattle a C plus for their Club World Cup performance because I feel like it was fair to ding them for the unforced errors, the unnecessary defensive errors, the Nuhu foul that gave Botafogo a goal. One of the goals in particular that they gave up against Atletico. It's just like, to me, it felt like stuff that didn't need to happen that I felt like it was fair to ding them for. But then when I marinated on it a little bit, thought about it a little more, I feel like in the B's is fair for how they played those games, the way they competed. They were certainly a lot more competitive against PSG than Inter Miami was today. So I think that's another indicator in hindsight that it went decently well. Was it incredible? Was it the greatest tournament performance I've ever seen? No, but it wasn't that bad. It was fine. It's pretty good at times. They got 20 million from the turn. I mean, yeah. That's crazy. How lucky of a find was Ladero? That was a cook. I am sympathetic to the notion that like what could that tournament have looked like with like 2018, 2019 Raul Ruidiaz. I don't know if it would have mattered, but it would have been fun to watch. If it's a different group, does your perspective change? I would have to see the group. But like, nah, I don't think so. I think this iteration of the Sounders, if they were in LAFC's group, I don't know if the expectation would have been to advance out of it. But I think they would have had a pretty damn good chance if they played like they did in these games. But you know, on this topic, I was thinking about this. Like, would I have rather had them in like a group like LAFC's group where they would have had a better chance at advancing and taking results that would have gotten them a lot of prize money? Or do you just take the group of death and look at it as like, this is a spectacle, the experience for the players and for the fans to get to watch them play teams like this, irrespective of the result. It's just a different type of spotlight with respect to the Tunisian team that LAFC played, and even Flamengo playing a club like PSG, which is the best team in the world right now, and Atletico Madrid, which is like a historic, legendary club. I thought it was cool that they got to play clubs like that, even though they realistically didn't have a great chance at all of taking any results at all or advancing out of the group. It was always an uphill battle. But I think I would take the Club World Cup that Seattle had over the one that Inter Miami had, even though they got some results that got them a lot of money. Like, you do have to, if you're talking about like who actually performed better in this tournament, they got a pretty big bag from the group stage because they got a win and 2 draws, and Seattle didn't get any of that. But as for what you actually got out of it or how you looked outside of that aspect of it, which is important, but Seattle got to go head to head with the best team in the world and got the experience of that. And I think being at the games, I think the fans loved watching Seattle get the opportunity to play teams like that. So for me, I don't. And then also Inter Miami got just absolutely blown to smithereens by PSG, which Seattle didn't really. I think I take the, in this situation, I almost take the harder group with the knowledge that it's like, even if they did advance, it's, the prize money would have been phenomenal. That would have been a benefit. But even if they did advance, the only benefit you get outside of that from the money is just like the experience, right? I don't know what the status of what the players got. I don't think that, to what I've heard, that never got resolved. So Pachuca had the exact same record as Seattle, but in an easier group. Did we play better than Pachuca? I didn't watch any of the Pachuca games to like assess their performance like that, but it is, playing in the group that Seattle played in has to be graded differently than pretty much any other group in this tournament. This group was ridiculous. Like, just thinking back on it, the third best team in Spain, the best team in South America, and the best team in the world. Like, I don't know. Yeah, miles clear of Pachuca. I would agree with that. Imagine letting PSG score more than once and a half. Yeah, I can't relate. Can't relate. Imagine losing to them by 4. Double. All right, I got no one in the queue right now, guys. So I'm gonna play this Jesus Ferreira sound and then and drop the link in again. I know it's not necessarily an ideal time for post game live Sunday afternoon smack dab in the middle of the day, but this is just when it had to be done. But I'm gonna play this Jesus Ferreira sound. Hear what Jesus had to say after his 1 goal, 1 assist performance versus Austin FC. Drop the link in chat again, and if anyone wants to hop on, by all means, feel free. And if not, then maybe it'll be a short show today. But always like to hear what you guys have to say and are feeling about these games and about the team. So definitely don't be shy. But anyway, gonna pull Jesus Ferreira up here now. Right after I drop the call-in link in the chat one more time. It is right there. Any and all are welcome to hop on, lay down some takes, tell us how you're feeling. But while we wait for that, let's listen to this Jesus Ferreira interview. Post-game locker room after his 1 goal, 1 assist performance against Austin FC. Was it his best game as a Sounder? I think the Nashville game was really good. The San Diego game winner was a huge goal, especially with how good that team has turned out to provenly be, right? But this is certainly one of the best performances as a Sounder. Okay, we got Tyler in the queue. Tyler, if it's cool if I play this Ferreira sound okay, I'm gonna do that and then bring you on. Thanks for tapping in, and we'll get you on here in just about 5 minutes.
Whenever you're ready. Cool. Yeah, Jeremiah, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, you got a goal and an assist. I imagine that feels pretty good.
yeah, no, it's exciting. I think it's one of those things where you want to keep improving, keep showing people that you are able to still perform at that level. And so, obviously, I'm gonna thank my teammates who still believe in me and still keep me on my toes. And so, it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to score again, to be able to assist, and just have a good game in general.
Paul, before that assist, he gets into it with Danny Pereira, and there's like a whole situation where there's not even a foul called. But it seems like the team sort of responded to that a little bit. Does that fire you guys up a little bit when there's an incident like that?
No, I think we always want to protect our teammates in whatever situation possible. If it's just a tackle or some little push, I think that we all kind of take account to that. Yeah. Even when Paul went to go press Stewart and he kind of stuck out his shoulder, we want to keep all that in mind. And as players, we want to protect it and take it out in any other way possible. So we all write tabs. I know I do. I know that whenever someone pushes one of my teammates, I know that the next tackle is going to be hard or something like that, But, I think that what we learned from the 3 games that we played in the Club World Cup is intensity is going to be key. And so moments like that, when people turn off and are focused on other things, we have to take advantage of moments like that. And I think we did. We had Danny come down and press and defend, and he turned the ball over to us, and we were able to attack it. So I think that the team is collectively on the same page in terms of we don't turn off no matter what, and we keep going and we keep the intensity high.
How important was it for the team, just from a mental perspective, to get a win today? There was a lot of talk of positive momentum during the Club World Cup, but if you don't win today, then it's a worth, right?
Yeah. No, I think that the team knew that it was time. I know that the coaches didn't want to tell us, but we know that we haven't won in 5 games, and so it's kind of one of those things where the coaches trust us enough that they don't have to mention it, and try to stay positive, because we know that we are a good team, that we know that we have good players that can either start or come off the bench, but we have a well-rounded roster, and so for us it was huge. We know that at home nobody can compete, with our fans, with our style of play. And the little extra positive was that we had grass today. And so the ball was rolling way faster than what it used to. And so we could take advantage of that. And so I think the team is excited for what's to come, because we know that we can perform after seeing our performances against the best 3 of in the Club World Cup. It's important to carry that.
Coach, you talked about the decision making. Can you talk about that, the nuances? And you talked a little bit about Paul, but the decision making you all made in transition and then on defense to obviously get the shutout.
Yeah, I think the guys are understanding what it takes, after playing, Atletico, where everybody's running behind the ball. Everyone's attacking. They get the ball and you see 5 guys flying. And so we knew as a team that we have players that can run up down the field, like Paul, and you have players that are good defenders. And so I think we have to use all our abilities together to be able to perform as a team. And help each other out. I think, and defensively, me and Paul dropping back helps a lot. Kalani and Reed, and so making sure that we can save energy like that. And then whenever we're attacking, you see Kalani doing overlaps and beating up the field. And so I think just being smart with the way that we are pressing, being smart with the way we're defending, and doing it as a collective, I think that's where we can get a lot of points.
How's this formation helping your ability to distribute the ball and play in that pocket? I know it's not about you, but I mean the team overall.
Yeah, I think it's a little different. I'm a guy that likes to have the ball and likes to be involved. And so for me to be able to have that freedom, maybe in the little pocket and interchange with Obed and Albert, it's huge. I give a lot of things to the coaching staff that gave me the freedom, kind of in a way, to be able to roam around when we have the ball. It's totally different when we don't have the ball, because I have to be in that right wing, protecting the pocket. And so it's getting easier. It's getting a lot easier whenever you're understanding the guys. And today was a perfect example of, I could have played Moose down the line, but I decided to play in his feet because I know that's the way he likes it. And so just understanding that it's huge.
All right, good stuff from Jesus Ferreira. 1 goal, 1 assist to contribute to Seattle's 2-0 win over Austin FC.
Good stuff from Jesus Ferreira. 1 goal, 1.
Let's take some calls. We got Tyler in the queue. Tyler, if you can hear me, give me that thumbs up. All right.
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. How are you feeling, Tyler? 2-0 win last night over Austin FC in Seattle's first win or first match post Club World Cup. What did you think of what you saw last night?
Yeah, really, I mean, really good overall. I think positive. I don't know, I think there's some question. I don't want to be one of those people that says the goals don't count or whatever, but I don't know that Austin was the toughest opponent to come out of the break or, facing. But the Sounders did take care of business, which was really good to see. I think my questions for you that I wanted to wrap on were KKR getting the start, interesting choice, especially after some comments from Schmetzer about that at least seem to call into question what PDLV's role actually is, what minutes he might actually be getting. I thought those were really interesting comments that he made. And then to see KKR get the start, I wanted to get your take on that. I don't know if we'd covered that on the show yet or not, but just curious where you were at there.
Well, I think KKR and Alex have been battling it out kind of all year. Like KKR has put pressure on him specifically, and like as far as KKR goes in this matchup with Alex having to play CB,
Right.
I think that was specific to this game and the personnel scenario. But what you're getting at with De La Vega, that's the interesting question. I've been saying in recent weeks that like the biggest issue with this team right now and why their points per game and record isn't where we would all necessarily hope and want for it to be is probably in large part to due to the lack of production from the DP spots of where Jordan got injured. And then where De La Vega, like it's really not about not rating him or thinking that he's a bad player or anything like that. It's just acknowledging the reality that when you have 2 goals, 4 assists as the output from a DP spot spread across 2 seasons now, that's going to be reflected in your results. So I'm really hoping that De La Vega flips the narrative, flips the script on that. And I think I don't know, like, what do you think about just what you've seen from him as a player? Because for me, it is hard to judge a little bit, because when I watch him play, I'm like, I see what they were scouting up. I do. Like, I actually like, it's definitely not an issue of like dynamic talent or ability.
No.
And last year the issue was injury, but this year I think it is. I think we have to be fair to say like that the output and performances have not been consistent of what you need from a DP wearing the number 10 for your club. So I don't know. What do you think of the De La Vega status?
Well, he's got DP quality hair, that's for sure. So he's got that
Absolutely.
going for him at least.
You can't deny that. Yeah.
The hair is at least 5 of that 7.5 million. No, I mean, I think it's, as a Sounder supporter, I want them to put the best 11 on the field. And I would prefer that 11 obviously include the highest paid players. But I do think at this point, it's fair to say, especially if you're going to see more production from Jesus Ferreira going forward. And I did think Ferreira was, I mean, I am not the biggest Ferreira supporter, but I am going to say he was quite good in this match. And even just the goal he scored, the finish was good. But what I really liked there was more his ability to get into those positions, crashing those alleys in the box where he just was not doing that before. And so to see Rothrock send a ball in, which, a fantastic ball, honestly, from Rothrock, that then not De La Vega, sorry, Ferreira is in position to finish. To me, I'm like, okay, well, if that's where this is going, then I'm much more of a believer in that, because for as good as PDLV is on the ball, and I think he's quite good on the ball and very smart on the ball, I'm just not convinced that that's what the Sounders need from that right attacking position. I mean, I think especially you got to put everything in the context of, well, no Jordan Morris. So you've got Musovski, who is the similar physically to Morris, but not the same profile of player, the same level of player that Morris is. And so your chance generation, I think, is really looks different with Musovski in there and not Morris. And if that's the case, I don't know how much we get from De La Vega out there if he's not making those same channeled runs that Ferreira now seems to be comfortable making. We've seen a couple games now where Ferreira has, instead of kind of pulling up at the top of the box, continued his run into the box and been available for a pass. And it hasn't always gone well. He whiffed on that one, obviously, in Vancouver, I think it was, and a couple other opportunities, but the positioning has definitely been better. So that's what I'm seeing. And to me, that says more Ferreira from that attacking spot as opposed to PDLV going forwards. But, I don't know if you agree with that assessment or not, or where your head's at in terms of that.
Yeah, I think you're right that they're good at different things. And it felt like watching that game last night that it felt like that Ferreira was he's finding his fit a little bit more, which I know for a lot of this season, it didn't look like it was fitting, but I was of the mind that like if you give him time, he throughout his career has been an extremely like high IQ player. That's like one of his best attributes is he's very adaptable, very versatile. So I was hopeful that with time we would see him sort of kind of figure out what his best role is on the team. And I think last night, I think you hit it right on, like him crashing the far post like that. That was like a perfect run, and that's the type of run that you make when you're figuring out like where you need to be, what types of runs you need to be making. So I think that was good to see, and that's all positive. But I hadn't really thought about it through the lens of De La Vega being more of like an on the ball magician with the creativity and being able to eliminate defenders off the dribble and stuff. I think there's a place for all those attributes in this attack that would function differently than when Ferreira's out there. I think don't you think Ryan Kent's a little similar to De La Vega just in that sense? So
Absolutely.
And we've seen him be very effective in that role. So I think De La Vega has it in his bag to be effective in this attack in a similar way that Ryan Kent is. I don't know, maybe it's a situation of playing either De La Vega or Ryan Kent, but we've seen a lot more end product from Ryan Kent, not recently, but at least when his first few games on the team, we saw that. And I thought he had at least one really good moment last night.
Yeah.
Where we saw again, like his ability to make an intelligent run, free himself up into space and lay in a ball to Ferreira that really honestly could have and should have been another Ferreira goal.
Yeah. Good ball.
So,
yeah.
Great ball, great run, like good delivery, everything you want to see from Ryan Kent. So that was encouraging. But I feel like De La Vega, while having those similar attributes, just hasn't kind of had the end product consistently like that. So I think really, I'm definitely not writing off De La Vega just because, like I said, I do see it. I do see it. You've seen it in like these flashes basically his entire time with the team. And I do think that there is an outcome here where he puts it together and becomes the type of contributor that he was billed as when they bought him for $7 million. But that's going to be like one of the big tells, I think, for the rest.
Do you think it's going to be from the wing though, Ari? Do you think that's his best position? That to me is the thing that I really wrestle with when I'm thinking about his place on the team.
Well, has he played centrally like all that much?
Not
like,
much. Not much.
I feel like he hasn't. So I would want to see that more to see if it's more effective. The thing about that is that Rusnak is your entrenched starter there.
Right.
And I still think that in the event that Rusnak can't go or has to rotate out, has to miss a game with injury, whatever it is, that Ferreira is your second best option there because of the creativity that he's showed. And he's had like the Nashville game, that's where he was playing and he looked great in that game. So it's just sort of like depth chart wise, I feel like De La Vega, his minutes are going to come out wide. And I think there's probably a reason that they're playing him there the most. That's like, he is a practice god. I can tell you that. Like, if you talk to anyone who's on the beat day in, day out and at training, they'll tell you that De La Vega looks like not just one of the most talented players on the team, but one of the most talented players that's ever suited up for the team in terms of just raw talent and technical ability. And then you get to game day and it just doesn't quite like transfer over. But I think there's probably a reason why they're playing him out wide like that. And I think, to me, when I look at his skill set of being able to eliminate guys off the dribble, beat guys one-on-one, and then, he's very creative. He's good at finding his teammates in certain situations. It all lines up to what like a wide attacker should be able to do and be productive with. But for whatever reason, it's just the end product hasn't been there. But it is an interesting question. Would he be more effective if he was playing centrally? I haven't really seen him play that role enough to know.
I don't think he did at Lanús either. I don't think he ever was a central player. But the ability to take guys on in a straight line, to me, that's just where I feel like potentially there's some there could be some benefit with that creativity in the middle too, especially if Ferrer is getting more comfortable in the attack from the right side. That could be something where there is a really good opportunity for high skill interchange on the right side of the attack, with potentially Rothrock, holding the left side of the attack for, for what he's been providing in the start. I don't know. This is just me thinking of ways to get him on the field that might make him more comfortable, but I'm obviously not making that decision. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, as Jake points out, he only had 15 minutes last night.
Yeah.
Coming in off the bench, but I don't know. I could be like out to lunch on this. I thought it was weird that he didn't play against PSG at all. Like,
Yeah, very weird.
But
then Brian's comments afterwards, it just feels like there's something else going on there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's so odd for Brian to say something like a player needs to earn his minutes. I don't know that I've ever heard Brian actually say that about somebody before, being really honest. So that really sent me when I read that from Brian. So yeah.
That was another like aspect of it, but just the notion that you're playing the best team of the world in a showcase type tournament, showcase type match, and you have a player that you spent $7 million on, the first player for your club to wear number 10 since Nicolas Ladero, and he doesn't play at all. I don't know if there's like was a statement of like you need to earn your role being made with that, but I think it's certainly I don't see how you could look at that and not think like it means something as to where he stands in the pecking order right now. But I do think that that the raw skill and the talent is such that I'm not like I'm not struggling to see some like crazy outcome where he comes good on the potential that he clearly has. It's just a matter of unlocking it, and they got to do that. Like if we get to the end of the season and he's sitting on like 1 goal, 3 assists, like that's just like that's an issue. Like it is. So
yeah, the Rusnak brigade will be converted to the Pedro de la Vega brigade very quickly if those are his final numbers. That's for sure.
It's interesting. He seems to like I've been taking a little bit of like pushback on kind of pointing out that what happened in the PSG game with that was weird, and that like I don't know, it's not about blaming anybody. I just think it's the reality that you need your DP spots to be having consistent strong output in this league. Otherwise, you will see that reflected in your record. That is just like the reality of a salary cap league. And they're in that situation right now. And frankly, what Ferrer and Moose have done has been vital to this team staying afloat without Jordan Morris playing due to injury, and with Pedro de la Vega not producing the output to his spot status on the roster. So I think you got to credit the depth guys on this team a lot. Ferrer is not exactly a depth guy, but Moose certainly was considered that going into the year. And if you look at what Ferrer has done this season so far, contributing heavily to wins over Nashville, San Diego, and now Austin, I think you almost I feel like it's gotten to the point where I think he's got 2 goals, 6 assists, which for TAM player, not a DP, TAM player is like it's like fine. Like for all the discourse about it, he's actually ended up in a place where it's like he's doing decently well this year and has been a key part of why this team is afloat despite the Jordan Morris injury.
I think he's also played better with a set role too. I do really think that him juggling between the 10, the 9, and the attacking right side mid without knowing the team, and that just being a larger issue, was probably something I didn't really credit him for. But in looking back, I'm like, well, he tried to learn 3 positions in a system and a team where he doesn't really know the guys, and he started on the left a little bit too, so it was kind of like then he was flipping to the other side anyway. And so I mean, because when Areola went down, then he played on the left, I think at least 1 match, if not for 2 matches after that too. So anyway, I think I personally, I don't think gave him enough credit for trying to work his way through those issues early on. And I think he's done great. And Rothrock obviously is fantastic. And you love to see KKR and RBW, who, by the way, is it just me, or did RBW put on like 40 pounds of muscle between last season and this season? Am I the only person that's like swole RBW is like a thing now?
No,
Did
it
I
is.
did I miss
It
that?
is.
He's like ludicrously jacked now. It looks like.
He is. He's an impressive athlete, and I think for the frustration about him getting another unnecessary red card, which as Schmetz mentioned, he did last year as well. So
Yeah.
that's stuff that you, as he gets more experience, you hope gets coached out of him, and he, you just got to be able to. It's risk analysis in that situation. Is
I
it
think
worth?
he was a little gassed too.
He was
I think
gassed and he was frustrated. So those are the moments in a game where you
absolutely,
are, especially when you're up 2-0, you're trying to kill the game off. It's not even in the attacking third. It's near midfield. So and I know there was a lot of fans getting on RBW again. I really like what I've seen from him in attack. I do think it's pretty clear that defensively is where he still needs to develop and still needs to work on things. But he just brings something in attack at that spot that Nuhu simply does not. So hopefully he can continue. I think it's good that he's getting minutes to actually develop, because I think people might not acknowledge he hasn't had a chance to do that really in the last couple of years because he's been injured.
He's been hurt. Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
now it might feel like he's been around for so long that these growing pains shouldn't be happening as much. But the reality is he hasn't played at a level much higher higher than MLS Next Pro all that much in his life. And he's been in situations where he freaking started against Atletico Madrid. And yes,
he looked good.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He got beat a couple times, and that's what everyone was on his ass for. But I personally don't harbor anything about that at all. That is a 20-year-old academy kid playing against Atletico Madrid in a competitive match. And
what was the salary for that right attacking mid versus RBW salary? Literally 60x? Was it probably more, honestly? 100x maybe?
People were mad at him for the play where he almost gave up the penalty, and I'm like, no, that's you're going at it with a guy who, like you said, is making 60 times your salary, and you're freaking holding your own in there, and it didn't even get called a penalty. So there's been a lot of anti-RBW sentiment flying around. I don't subscribe to it at all. I think it's pretty lame, honestly, that people are bagging on a homegrown like this. He's doing what he can out there, and it was a bad red card to take last night. But if it's these growing pains are still happening longer down the line, then I'd be more concerned. For now, it's just a young
Is he
player.
20? Is he 21 now?
I don't think so. I think he's 20. I'll look it 20? Up. I'm pretty sure he's 20. And realistically, he didn't get the developmental curve that Obed did. He's doing that.
Or even
now.
Leva. I mean, Leva got a lot of time between 17 and 18 that RBW didn't necessarily get.
RBW is 20 years old. So
there you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I got Hunch Punch in the queue behind you, Tyler, but any other last takes about either this game or the season coming up here, or any players that get out there?
Just two quick things. The Club World Cup, I got a chance to take my son to the Botafogo game, and I think as an experience, everything else to my mind can go out the window. I think if you had the opportunity to go to one of those games, it was worth it for an experience. I wish it wasn't through FIFA. I wish there was a lot of other things that were different about it. But when I sat there with my son, actually my dad and my son both went to the game. So it was really, really good experience. And I'm just grateful that happened. So it was cool. And the second thing is, I'm going to say, who is your, and I'll just sign off on this, but who is your favorite MLS Club World Cup team, and why is it Urawa Red Diamonds? That's the last question.
Honestly, I mean, I watched a lot of the other games, but I wasn't following any of the teams that closely. But for me, the answer to that was Botafogo, because I got to interview one of the YouTubers who covers them, and got to learn about their team, and learn about how they've become this kind of force in South America. And so I was partially rooting for them to make a run for my new friend Pedro from Glorious Botafogo, drop him a sub. But also I think Igor Jesus is just I can see player. I can see
Yeah.
why he went to Nottingham Forest for $30 million.
Yeah.
So I was actually bummed when they got knocked out against Palmeiras. I didn't catch that game, but I was just looking at the stats, and it looked like it was just like a absolute like clash of two
Brawl.
evenly
Yeah.
matched, like a brawl between two evenly matched teams. So I think in general, I'm paying a lot more attention to Brazil after this tournament. Certainly,
For sure.
I think they made a statement like that they are here for the global stage for sure. And then specifically, Botafogo is my like bandwagon South American team now after this tournament.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, Ari. Have a great one, man.
Yeah, take care, Tyler. Great call. Appreciate you. Great stuff from Tyler right there. We got Hunch Punch next in the queue. The link is dropped in right here, so if anyone else wants to hop on, feel free. But we're gonna bring Hunch to the stage right now. Hunch, sorry that we fired up the early show on you, but glad you still got to tap in. How are you feeling, man? 2-0 over Austin FC, first game post Club World Cup.
Good overall, I would say. I mean, I think we were trending right. We had bad luck in Vancouver there, although maybe our left back position is, defense against the dark arts, and that we can't keep anybody there without a red card match for match.
Yeah, if the left backs could stop getting red cards, that would be sick. I won't lie. I would.
Yeah, it looked good. I mean, there was obviously more opportunities there overall. It's so funny to hear. I don't know if you watched the presser already with Brian.
We did.
Okay. I mean, him just referencing what has happened to the team over the last 3 or 4 years, and that is just beating them. Beating into them, that defense matters so much that the offensive sort of prowess has been blunted to the point where he's like, oh, I want more people to make through runs. I want more runs to happen, even if the pass doesn't come, which makes complete sense because at the very least you pull defenders in open space. And now he's openly lauding like that is what he wants. And so that's pretty fantastic. Hope to see more of that overall. And hopefully, I mean, I'm a little surprised we don't have an assistant coach who maybe has brought this up before now, for example, to say like this is something we should be focusing on in terms of let's not lose our offensive way, or at least have an offensive identity. I don't know.
I think the most encouraging part of the goals that we saw last night was it looked like the Seattle Sounders again, didn't it? A 22 pass buildup where you just slice and dice like that and then generate a high quality chance off it. That's what we need to be seeing. Like, so it's not just the goals and the win. To me, it's like the way they played on offense felt like back to the identity that they've had so much success with over the years. So that was great to see. What did you think of the Ferreira match? 1 goal, 1 assist, and a nice finish off of a Paul Rothrock assist.
I'm still, I wouldn't say big on him, but I'm still in his court. I mean, if he's a stock, I'm investing. And hopefully that continues to improve. And if it does, pairing him up either with Jordan, which again in a 4-4-2, or at least putting the two of them up with maybe Jordan a top over right over him, with him sitting right behind either for distribution or as a second target, maybe not like a heading target necessarily, but a passing target that can either free up Jordan or make that. I'm still big on him. I hope De La Vega comes along too. I mean, I think they've committed to a long-term. This is a growth project, if I'm saying, with De La Vega, and I have a feeling he's going to be around for a few more years, regardless of his performance, unless it's just complete, crap, or he's injured for another year or something like that. Knock on wood.
It hasn't been like that, like complete crap. I would not put that on him. Like,
no,
it just hasn't been $7 million of production. Like, so.
No, 100% not. But I mean, last year he was clearly dinged up and not healthy. And I don't mean unhealthy. I mean, he wasn't in a position to make the physical recoveries that maybe he needed time to have, and then adjust to the league and everything else on top of that. And now we're starting to see, okay, he's got all the tools in his tool belt again, and we need to refine those and have him accommodate, the game and vice versa. And in the same way, I mean, I thought Kent had a good game. Like, yeah. I felt in the last few matches, he's tried to find the game instead of letting the game come to him. Which is what he was doing in the first 2 games, where it was just he played his way and didn't try to like overproduce something. Like he had a flow, and I think it would be a mental block of like, oh, now he's got this hype around him. He felt like he had to do more, and he doesn't. He just needs to do what he can do, and that will be fine. And just let the game come to him. So I was happy to see him do well, even though it's a sub, but still happy. And then, if I'm being honest, we've kind of reestablished a pillar that we've missed, and that ever since we've lost Ozzy, Christian is really now starting to go more, defensive.
Oh my God,
hunting people down.
That slide tackle he had.
Yes, exactly. Was that not Alonso-esque?
That was so good, man. Like,
yeah,
that was one of those ones where everyone in the press box was like, Jesus Christ. Like, this guy is he's a man possessed right now. He really is. He's playing like a guy that's got like a bit of a chip on his shoulder in an Aussie reminiscent type way, which it's like the great thing about Ozzy was like the technical ability, the willingness to do the dirty work, the defense, but also the attitude and the swagger. It permeated throughout the entire team. And I think that has never been like fully replaced since he left. And Christian is like high key bringing that right now.
Yeah. Well, JP had some hints of it, but obviously he's just at sort of that higher end, lower, or let's just say tailor end of his career, where the wheels are slowing down a little bit, and just the obviously that injury kind of took a year out there. We just haven't had it, but it's not just our own team who then starts to develop some of that from a defensive prowess. You get in the heads of your opponents of like, well, we can't go through the middle, or if he's coming across, I don't want to make that pass because I know he's closing me down. And then it starts to make them think differently, which is what Ozzy did, whether he was involved in the play or not.
Exactly. And when you have a player like Christian who is willing to just go all out, and got like that the slide tackle was such a huge play in that game, because that's so demoralizing if you're the other team. Like
if it's clean,
and it was so clean, and like to the point where they must have been feeling like, God, we were just out and running, we had it going, and then this freaking number 7 guy just comes in from out of absolutely nowhere, running at 100 miles an hour, and just absolutely just swipes the ball. Like a play like that, that affects games, like I think more than people realize. And it's like you really can't like put a value on that stuff. That's why that stuff is why Ozzy is my favorite sounder ever. And why
100%.
Christian, and why Christian like kind of stepping into that role in that way this year has I was talking about it in terms of like reasons why this team has been able to not like totally spiral this season despite some of the injury and personnel situations. And I think Moose is a big one you got to credit for. I think Ferreira coming into his own in the last like few games, and having, like I think the Nashville game is an example of the depth coming through like that. But Christian doing what he's doing, I think, is arguably the biggest reason for that.
Well, and back to what you're, 100%, and we need that. And even if Christian doesn't quote unquote win the ball, all he has to do is separate the man from the ball cleanly, and then you've got people like Vargas to pick it up. Which, if you want someone to pick it up and have the ability to distribute, he's one of your top selections. If it's not De La Vega or somebody else along the same, even Rusnak. But I heard them say in the after show yesterday as well that, Jesus is finally settling into the right wing. I don't think that's true. I know that he was on the right side when he scored his goal. I still don't think he's a winger. Like I think he's figuring it out. This is the thing. Like he is to everything I have seen from him throughout his entire career in MLS. He is a guy that if you and we've never seen him go to a new team before, but this is why I think that trading for him was a relatively high percentage move, because everything I've seen from him throughout his career indicates that it's like, all right, if we have to run this setup with this personnel, we're going to put you in this role. This is the type of stuff you have to do. And he's smart enough to figure it out. Noah and I have gone back and forth a lot this year about whether Jesus Ferreira and Rusnak
can or should play together. Noah was saying they need to chalk that idea. I was saying if you run it more, like I think I have faith that he's going to like figure it out eventually, because I think his soccer IQ is one of his best attributes. And I'm not going to say that that is validated off 1 goal and 1 assist versus Austin FC, but I think if you look at that goal that he scored, that is like the type of I was talking about it with Tyler, the previous caller, but like seeing that run, making that run in that space, in that wide channel, and finding the spot for a wide open, like fantastic high percentage chance and finish. He has to keep doing stuff like that. I thought it was a great sign to see him do that from that position. And I think that there is a chance that he will be able to tap into that more and be effective in that role when they need him to be. And then we already know he can be effective as a central playmaker. So he still has to like prove it consistently down the stretch of the season here. But I for me, it was like just fantastic to see him make that play, because he wasn't doing that like early in the year when he was struggling to find his fit.
Well, yeah, and he still moves quite a bit during the game. Like they don't keep him pinned to the right wing. I still would just love to see him in the middle with Rusnak out and Jordan Morris in front of him, and then a Georgie and a Rothrock on the wings or something like that, or even a Kent. And just to see how he would do as sort of a recessed, Vargas and Christian behind him kind of situation where he can drop back and either pick up the ball and bring it forward, or distribute or attack, or be a target. I would like to see how that works, where him and Rusnak were not vying for the same spaces, just to see how that flowed.
Yeah, no, I think it's it's definitely a fair thing to wonder about, and that they're going to have to assess going forward into the stretch of the season here. Hunch, where are you at on the De La Vega situation?
Well, as I said, I think
bench,
I don't think it was a big deal that he didn't play in that last game. I mean, the guy just hasn't delivered right now, but that's not a fault necessarily. He's a work in progress. And if they thought that he could have helped in the PSG game, I think they would have brought him in. But I think that, one, you're trying to give other players the opportunity to play in a big game in the World Cup. And then two, just because you spent a lot on something, you can't have this sort of like sunk cost buyer's remorse where it's like, well, he's worth money, so we got to put him on the field. It's like, if he's the right man for the job at that time, you put him in or you start him, whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you do need to get production out of that spot eventually.
Yes.
And if you can wrangle it to where you're getting production from your wingers that aren't him, and he can be in this super sub developmental type role, not ideal, but that'll be fine. But you do have to acknowledge if that's what it's come to, then you're not necessarily in an ideal situation as far as how your roster is constructed. But I guess you were saying earlier that you think they're looking at this as like a long-term.
That's the feeling I'm getting. Yeah, I really am.
Like regardless of how he plays or produces right now.
Immediately, yes. But I also think that he might be one of those players that performs better a little bit more central, and we constantly keep putting him out there on the right side. So I don't know how you have too many people vying for that middle spot or middle spots, but like just to see how well he does, if he looks like Alex and Christian did their first 2 years in the league. He is Johnny Chase the ball. And it's this wild amount of energy to just be involved and do the things. And it's not about necessarily positioning. And he's got a higher skill set than they did when they started, no question. But his composure to see the game right now seems, I'll just say, juvenile. And he feels like just by exerting energy, he's going to do the right things. And that's just not under control yet. And now that he's healthy and potentially happy, with figuring and getting settled here, it now is when the refinement needs to happen. And I think they're going to give him, starting now, not counting last year, that time. That's just my gut feeling. Yeah,
I think you could be right about that. if that sort of rough situation turns out to be what's going on, I think we can all debate the wisdom of that at that point, because I don't know. I do think that when you're building a roster, it's not necessarily prudent to have a $7 million DP spot in like a developmental type role. But I will say that Craig Weibel, when Pedro de la Vega first got here and going into this season, he said that they made the acquisition, and I've heard like rumblings to this effect as well, that that they actually are kind of thinking about it how you're saying, like that it's like they don't look at it as like a situation where there's pressure on him to carry the load right away. At least that's what they were saying going into like the first year when he was on the team. And I think Craig Weibel has said stuff similar to that effect, like sort of like the mentality of like anything we get from him is sort of a bonus, but we're really looking at this as like we're bringing him along and developing him. But you do leave yourself vulnerable to situations in that event where if you have injuries or situations where certain guys can't play, and then you have like a more developmental player than an impact player in that spot, that could lead to issues. So we'll talk about those as it comes. But
well, from a smart business standpoint, you don't want to do anything to devalue him, and if anything, you want to show that he's absolutely worth as much as what we paid for him, if not more. Even if we have a separation, exit strategy in mind, it behooves us to make him at least as valuable as he's worth now, so that when it comes time to trade or transfer him, we're recouping that. So it's still both advantageous on the field for us to get him functional, and business-wise to make him retain his value.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Hunch, I got Noah about to buzz into my apartment so we can record this dub pod. So I'm going to
last two.
Lay him down, and then I'm going to wrap it up.
Columbus.
Is that the next
coming
game?
up? Yeah, next Sunday.
Is that home or away? I should probably know that.
It's here.
Okay. Yeah. That's a big game. One of the best teams in MLS, with the best coach in MLS, arguably.
Yeah, and I guess we'll probably do Thursday. We can talk Columbus. So maybe a little jump on the gun there.
Yeah, we'll do an official preview on Under the Lights for sure. But
okay.
I mean, I can inform anyone who doesn't know that they're not as hot of a crew team as they were maybe last couple years, but it's one of the best teams in MLS without a doubt.
So the funny thing is, I was looking at a stat that somebody put out this week. We're the most fouled team in MLS. I think they're the least fouled team.
Interesting.
Like just suffering fouls. I don't know what that means. Maybe they don't have possession, but just a weird dichotomy.
Yeah. I'll have to I haven't watched all that much crew this year. I've watched a little bit. I keep pretty close tabs on them because they're like they're a power in the Eastern Conference. They're a team that's always in the mix. And they're a team that it almost feels like no matter what's going on with their roster, you look at the table and they're up like at 1.7 to 1.9 points per game. That's just the Wilfred Nancy effect. So that'll be a good test. If this Austin FC game wasn't like the biggest test in the world, Columbus certainly will be. So I didn't realize that was I think I got it flipped. I think I thought it was the professional wrestling enthusiasts first, but no, yeah, you're right. Columbus coming up, Sunday Night Soccer, presented by Continental Tire. I don't know, but that's a big matchup. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome, man. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you, Hunch. Appreciate you as always. Always great catching up with you, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, talk to you later.
Yeah, take care. All right, guys, like I said, I got Noah pulling up right now so we can cook up this dub pod for you. That is him buzzing right now. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this post-game live. Thanks to Tyler and Hutch for calling in, and going to catch you next time.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere, and some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.